So now that I'm back and I've finished off all of the anniversary super container reward collection last patch, I thought I was missing something. And yeah, I actually haven't finished the British Battlecruiser grind yet. These new battleships are really good, and I haven't really talked about them at all because I just haven't been playing them. Last patch, like I said, I was going through and collecting all the super containers for those nice anniversary rewards. Then I was gone for a week. So back to tier 8 on this line, the Hawke. If you remember, I did make a video on this ship when they were in early access, a long time ago at this point, and I really liked this ship. I thought it was going to be a really solid tier 8. And I've played it a little bit already, grinding my way up to the tier 9, and I gotta say, I like it even more now. This ship is such an awesome battleship. It is extremely accurate, the guns are incredibly consistent, and it's quite quick. This is going to be a really good example of what this ship is very good at in this game, and what it's really bad at. I think this is a great showing for what this entire line has to offer, and more specifically about the tier 8. What I'm doing here is probably what you don't want to be doing in this line, and that is getting into a standard bow tanking position where you're not moving very much, you're not getting many broadsides. This ship really wants to make use of its superior speed to get those broadsides and then make use of its better dispersion, good concealment, to get the drop on people and get some nasty salvos in. Just look what happens when this Leon gives too much broadside to us, and we're able to punish him extremely consistently. And I think that if I'm able to play more mobile than this position here, I'm going to get more salvos like this in this match. It's not every day that a Leon is just gonna walk out broadside, right? That's just not something I can expect to happen all the time. And that was, what, a 20k salvo? Pretty insane for just a tier 8 battleship. That is not something that we can consistently get out of a lot of the other tier 8 battleships. Even things like North Carolina, which I think are quite consistent, I don't expect something like 20k into a broadside Leon. It's not something that's going to happen all that often. But here, we can kind of expect it. There's another 15k. It feels really good. And what that comes from is the guns having shorter fuses and being 406 millimeters. The Monarch, the other tier 8 British battleship, only gets 380s. So having a higher caliber here and retaining that shorter fuse AP means we're just so much more consistent on that AP usage, which I really like. And that's not to say the HE is really all that bad either. It's British Battleship HE. 406 millimeters means we get 68 millimeters of pen and a 45% fire chance. That's amazing. That's really good, especially at tier 8. So we have extremely powerful main guns, but we're a little bit weak when it comes to our armor, and that's going to be a bit of an issue as this game plays out. But I really wanted to show just how strong the main guns here are. So if you're someone who really doesn't like the inconsistency or some of the issues with overpens on battleships a lot of the time, this could be a really great line for you. I really do enjoy the extra consistency that these guns have, and the extra speed makes it feel more like a cruiser where you're wanting to flank and able to flank even. You'll notice I'm running Brisk here, as we can see in the bottom middle of our screen. Brisk is activated, and I'm making very poor use of it in this match. I hadn't played this line for quite some time before this, so I just kind of defaulted to standard battleship play, which is not what you want to do. And here comes the big problem. This game is relatively close, and I know that we need to make a move on this flank if we're going to win this game. The enemy team has very much won the opposite side of the map, and we need to apply some pressure here and hopefully gain some ground so that we can maybe deal with the tier 9s that are coming from that flank once we've dealt with maybe this North Carolina, opened ourselves up a little bit of breathing room. And this is where the Hawke and the whole line is not very good. Its armor just can't withstand these close range brawls. If you've looked at the armor viewer, which hopefully I remember to do at the end of this video, the Citadel is comically large. So that means we have to stay as angled as we possibly can be. And since we don't have a ton of armor around the standard upper belt and bow and stern, we're going to take a ton of HE damage. We're going to get overmatched quite a lot at this tier. And this HP pool, while really good at 70,000 HP, it's much more than a North Carolina. It's more than a Tirpitz even. we don't have the armor to really make use of it. And since we're tier 8, we don't have the super heal yet, so this ship really does chew through its HP very quickly if you're under constant pressure. That's why it's really, really bad in a brawl. And that's why I say I've kind of made some mistakes in this video where I haven't actually played to the ship's strengths, which is flanking, its speed, its maneuverability, its consistent guns against broadsides. I'm not playing to its strengths in this portion of the video. We're still going to do quite well on damage because the guns are just awesome, but I don't live very long from here on. We're going to chew through, well, 60,000 HP very, very quickly. That NC is flat broadside. What do we get into him? 7 full pens? It's over 20k damage, even without citadels there. I'm kind of splitting my focus here between the submarine and this NC. But as you can see, we're able to use our depth charges into the sub, who, well, that's the premium Japanese sub, I think. It's pretty slow underwater. It got caught out. It's probably going to die in that kind of scenario. And so are we. We're not going to live all that long here. There's an Alaska coming. There's a Pommern coming. There's an Otago, there's some DDs on the way as well. I'm hoping the NC doesn't manage to get around to my broadside. He's pretty low, so I'm hoping that that doesn't happen. But as you can see, we were a little too late with our push in this kind of scenario, and the enemy team has managed to catch us in a crossfire as we pushed in. It's possible that playing a little more passive and trying to deal with the enemy team as they overcommitted into us would have led to a better result here, but I tend to value making a more aggressive play or a more proactive play rather than just waiting and hoping something happens. Look at that dispersion. Again, the dispersion is so nice coming out of this ship. Even though we only get 1 citadel into the Otago, it's half his health gone, just like that. And that's half our health gone, just like that. It's a glass cannon. It's a bit of a glass cannon. We're under a lot of pressure here, though, to be fair. So it is impressive that we're living this long at all, given the armor scheme. And we're really making use of that extra HP we get up front here. Surprisingly, this does have a shorter cooldown on the heal as well, which is kind of nice. It is a 60-second cooldown instead of an 80-second cooldown that you get standard on battleships. Not quite as nice as the Massachusetts 40 seconds, but still a nice bonus, much like the Thunderer, I believe, has that same 60-second cooldown on the heal. It's very nice, and for a ship that's this quick and has such good concealment, generally it's going to help you stay alive for a very long time, assuming you're not playing into a brawling Pommern, for example. A bit of a mistake, you could say. And yeah, that was our last salvo of the game. We're not going to actually get any more than that. But 150k into tier 9s here, even with making a bit of a mistake, is a pretty good result. And it really shows some of the consistency on this ship. I didn't get that many salvos in this game where I could have shot at broadsides. And when I did get those broadside salvos, they were pretty much all what I was expecting, or even better than I was expecting. They're really, really good and consistent salvos, which is always a nice thing to see. I really am starting to enjoy this line, and I can't wait to get myself up to the tier 10 again. I gotta remember just how much fun I did have that in that ship when it was in early access. The build is starting to come together here, as you can see. I really enjoy Brisk on this line specifically, although I do think Grease the Gears has a place here, given that the turrets are always nice to have them a little bit quicker. I'm personally taking Adrenaline Rush, Basic Survivability, Emergency Repair Expert, pretty standard stuff. As you can see, they recommend Furious and Super Heavy AP. Not so sure about that on the lower tiers specifically, but once you get a Super Heal, I can understand at least Super Heavy AP, where you don't really worry as much about fire damage because of that Super Heal, healing back 100% of that. And most of the time you don't even get through Super Heals because most of the damage you're taking isn't 100% healable. So that's where the value of these Super Heavy AP shells comes from with this line, but don't take it until you get to tier 9 at least, when you get that Super Heal. Furious seems like a bit of bait to me, where it's just encouraging you to leave a fire ticking even though you probably should just repair it. So I don't really recommend that one necessarily, but you can run the full build if you want to. It certainly can work. As you can see with the upgrades, also pretty standard at this point. I'm taking Damage Control System Mod 2 instead of Steering Gears, but if you really want that extra maneuverable feel, more like a cruiser, yeah, take Steering Gears with propulsion that's baked into this ship and engine boost. It's pretty maneuverable. And I think that's where a lot of the fun comes from with this ship. It's a different playstyle than those brawling battleships. It's a bit of a flanker. It's a bit more like a cruiser, right? A Battlecruiser. Who'd have thunk it, right? But yeah, look at the armor. We're getting overmatched by everything up front here. Only 32 millimeters. And then the craziest part has to just be the Citadel. Look at this. Yeah. Uh-huh. It's bigger than old Conqueror, old Montana, North Carolina. It's humongous. I haven't seen a Citadel this big ever, I don't think. It's just huge. So keep that in mind. If you give broadside in this one, yeah, it's going to hurt a lot. I believe the tier 9 as well also has a gigantic Citadel. But only at the tier 10 you start to get that below water, which is kind of nice. Although I do like the consistency of the guns, but I also enjoy that this ship gets punished consistently as well. I like that. It makes it easier to understand and learn how to play the game when there's more consistency in it. So let me know what you think in the comments down below about this line, about this ship. I'm really enjoying it so far, and you can be sure that I'm going to get up to the tier 9 and tier 10 pretty quickly here. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.